The former Conservative politician Nigel Lawson, who was Margaret Thatcher's Chancellor in the 80s, has died at the age of 91.
He was the longest-serving Chancellor of the 20th century before he resigned in 1989 over Thatcher's choice of economic advisor. Political figures have been paying tribute.
Prime Minister Rishi Sunak tweeted this. "One of the first things I did as Chancellor," he said, "was to hang a picture of Nigel Lawson above my desk. He was a transformational Chancellor and an inspiration to me and many others. My thoughts are with his family and friends at this time."
And the current Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, said Nigel Lawson was a rarity among politicians, someone who transformed our thinking as well as transforming our economy. Since he stepped down as Chancellor, his shoes have been impossible to fill, but he inspired all his successors, leaving the country more prosperous and enterprising.
And this from former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who wrote, "Nigel Lawson was a fearless and original flame of free market conservatism. He was a tax cutter and simplifier who helped transform the economic landscape and help millions of British people achieve their dreams." Here's more from our political correspondent, Helen Catt.
Nigel Lawson was the architect of the economic policies that underpinned Thatcherism. 6 years in office saw some of the most far-reaching changes ever made to Britain's financial affairs.
I was asked to be the first city editor for the new Sunday Telegraph.
He began his career as a journalist, editing The Spectator magazine and making regular appearances as a TV pundit.
Nigel Lawson.
He became an MP in 1970, earning a reputation as a man of the right. Here he was calling for the end of sanctions against Rhodesia, as it was then.
The purpose of economic sanctions was to achieve a political end. They have failed to do this, and I think it is clear to all of us now, if it wasn't clear before, that they never will.
Chancellor, just this way, sir.
In 1983, he became Chancellor in Mrs Thatcher's cabinet, presenting a series of tax-cutting budgets. The privatisation of state industries saw him fulfil his vision of a people's capitalism. His relaxation of the rules governing London's stock market was aimed at making the city a successful financial centre. But as inflation and interest rates rose, the government found itself in trouble. Lawson's opposition to the poll tax, a measure which led to huge public disorder, soured relations with Margaret Thatcher. A public row with the Prime Minister's financial guru, Sir Alan Walters, was the final straw.
Good evening. The Chancellor, Nigel Lawson, resigned tonight, taking the government, Westminster and financial markets around the world totally by surprise.
His resignation was seen by many as the beginning of the end of the Thatcher era. He sat in the Lords as Lord Lawson until last December, during which time he criticised the idea of man-made climate change and argued to leave the European Union.
The European Union, as it is now, half of it is the complete economic basket case, and the other half is not all that great.
His view had always been that the market should operate with the minimum of interference, a philosophy that guided one of the 20th century's longest-serving and most reforming chancellors.